Chapter 41. There's something wrong with his knife. Uchiha Madara. Broken arm. Itachi looked at the still shaking hand on the ground in shock. What makes people creepy is the skin color on the arm that is different from that of human beings. It was a miserable white skin. And the scream just now made people chill. Unlike Uchiha Madara's low voice before, it was an extremely harsh wailing. What are you yelling about? Back, Obito under the mask looked cold. The source of the voice just now was the other half of his body, which was also the white Zetsu composed of this mask. His name is Alfie. Obito, let's go. The weak Afe had no idea of joking or laughing. He only spit out 4 words and then lost his movement weakly. Hurry up. Obito frowned. The arm was severed, but it didn't affect him much. He was confident and continued to fight. These 2 little devils were still not his opponents. After all, that arm doesn't belong to him at all. Even though he experienced human grief, he was only a teenage boy the same age as Kakashi. Competitive. No, he really wanted to kill the 2 who were looking in a mirror in front of him. Like Kakashi sees the duo, he also has a sense of déjà vu. The kind of disgusting thought that always made him fall into memory, and he tried so hard to deny the cutoff. But Ju's words made him have to temporarily give up the idea in his heart. Taking a deep breath, his body began to slowly fade away. Yahachi sword, Uchiha Itachi. Looking forward to seeing you next time. The figure flashed, and the next moment, he appeared in the dark cave. The mask slowly opened, and the weak Afe fell to the ground like a pool of mud. It's just that the arm has been cut off. How can you still feel pain with this kind of thing? Glancing at the broken body, Obito asked coldly. You don't understand. Afe leaned on the ground limply and said weakly. The slash on the body just now is completely different from the pain of that cut. Except for the pain that should exist, I only feel that the whole person. How can I describe it? Afe, who was originally lacking in IQ, rubbed his temples in distress. It's the kind of person who is clearly in his own body, but there is something that drags his own body out of the body. At that moment, I felt as if I was forcibly taken out of my body. Something, yes, soul. My soul is touched. Is the soul held out of the body? Obito looked solemn. Are you sure? That feeling. I knew you didn't believe it. Afe shook his head, randomly summoned another white Zetsu experiment from the ground, and then attached his arm in front of Obito. At this point in the past, the injured arm should have recovered. But now it is still drooping under his arms, as if he has lost consciousness. Although I don't want to say that, I can be sure that the soul of my arm has been severed. There's something wrong with his knife. Soul is cut off. At this moment, Obito was completely stunned. A sword that can cut off the soul. Afe has no reason to lie to himself. That is the opponent's knife. There must be a problem. Suddenly, a cold sweat broke out on his back. If that kid didn't cut Afe who merged with him to fight, but his own words. How will it end? He had already lost half of his body. This dilapidated body was repaired with white Zetsu and first-generation cells. If he lost control of an arm. Weird kid. It can even attack the soul. Knight 8 swords. Not only is his strength amazing, but he also knows about the Eye of the Moon. Will his existence threaten the plan? In an instant, a series of questions all surfaced in his mind. A little devil. It gave me such a headache. Obito looked at Faye on the ground. Watch him, don't show any flaws. ... Knives, of course, are problematic. But the only person in this world who knows the mystery of that sword is Yi Bajian. But the knife in his hand seemed ordinary in the hands of others, and it didn't even burst out with the spiritual pressure that Zanpakuto should have. So the problem is not the knife, but the one who uses the knife. I am the god of death. On the small road leading to the land of soup, Bajian was drinking wine. Itachi next to him is still seriously bandaging the wound on his palm. The war had just passed, but God did not let them go. It seemed that in order to wash away the blood on the way, it also started to rain lightly. Distance, the two genins looked confused, and it was estimated that after this mission, their beliefs as ninjas had completely collapsed. I will also fully understand how dangerous it is to be a ninja. Just AC level mission, if the strength is not good, they will be killed at any time. Itachi, your eyes. The palm has been bandaged, and although he was injured twice in a row today, Bajian has completely adapted to the pain. Instead, it's a weasel. The 8 swords of fresh blood coming out of his tear trough can also be guessed. Well, Sharingan. Itachi was a little melancholy, and a little sad. It is different from ordinary people getting power. He would consider why this power came, and what accompanied it when it came. Pat. With his fingers on his forehead, Itachi groaned in pain. Hey, you're still alive. I'm still alive too. Remember, your eyes were opened for me. Standing up and carrying the knife forward, only the back was left in Itachi's eyes. Remember, your eyes are opened for me. Confusion has disappeared. Instead, there is only firmness. Compared with Jianzhang, I'm way too far behind. ... Ask for a ticket. Chapter 42 Konoha, Cause and Effect, Defection. The escort mission continues. But one thing is for sure. Obito probably won't be back anytime soon. With the knife in the hands of 8 swords. But he understood that this time Obito didn't use his full strength. As Madara's heir, Obito's strength is not bad. But this time, because of negligence, Bajian found a flaw in his attack, otherwise he wouldn't be able to cut off the opponent's arm so easily. The most precious thing about a person is being able to see themselves clearly. Bajian understands that he has a system, and as long as he wields the knife for a long time, it is certain that he will become stronger. Until it is so strong that the world can no longer stop itself. But there is a process for this to become stronger, and he needs time. And the battle with Obito made him sober a lot. This time Obito suffered because he didn't understand his abilities, and next time it won't be so easy. The ninja world never lacks the strong. If he wants to change the pattern and change his destiny, he must work harder. Fortunately, the upgrade of the daily tasks of the King of Ping Chopping has given Bajian a direction to work hard. Never stop swinging the knife. Glancing at the system panel, the progress of the King of Flat Cut Kenpachi template made him a little relieved. Swing a knife. If you can only do one thing, make it the best. ... At night, when Bajian continued to escort the mission. In the Konoha Hokage building, several figures suddenly appeared in the office. Lord Hokage, according to all the clues, and the information of a total of 60 missing children, the direction they are pointing. Anbu Ninja wears a mask, and his voice is a little shocking. Recently, the number of missing Konoha children has increased again, even to the point where families with children are in danger, and the clues are all stuck in one place after all. Completely exposed. The 2 Hokages in the room fell silent for a while. Minato didn't speak, and now was not the time for him to express his opinion. Because that person is the apprentice of 3 generations of adults. He had enough reason to remain silent on the matter. Desperate to test Orochimaru, and finally can't hide. But the time of exposure seems to be a little earlier. Orochimaru's defection in the original book was after the Kyuubi, Nine Tails Rebellion, when 3 generations came to power again, and Orochimaru completely lost the chance to become Hokage. And now, it's a few months earlier. It is estimated that even if it is 8 swords, it will be a bit surprising to get this news. The reason for the advance is actually related to the 8 swords. Because of his existence, Orochimaru did not plant a spell on Enko, nor took Enko to his laboratories at various locations to observe Enko's physical condition and reaction after the spell was planted. Instead, he devoted himself to studying his reincarnation. But his research is often accompanied by the death of experimental subjects and the increase in the number of experimental subjects. So it makes sense to expose the human experiment in advance. Third generation really not know about Orochimaru's research. Then why was he not so surprised when he saw the green Mokudan, wood-style boy Yamato? It's not that I don't know, it's just been tolerated. This is the third generation, and his character is like that. Like tolerating Danzo. He is tolerant of his apprentices. Early defection is not a butterfly effect, but a causal relationship, because the existence of the 8 swords has indeed changed some things. Defection, however, has become a foregone conclusion. Orochimaru, I should have thought. Lighting the smoking gun, the 3 generations stood up with a wry smile. After all, he is my apprentice, leave this to me, Minato. Should be. Minato nodded, never getting up to deal with the subject. 3 generations of adults always have their own considerations. Maybe it's for the village, but one person's indulgence is not the best way. Sighing, watching the backs of the 3 generations and the Anbu leaving, his young face was full of fatigue. It's finally done. In the dark laboratory, Orochimaru stared contentedly at the scroll in front of him. It records everything about the reincarnation of the dead. He opened his mouth and shoved the scroll into his stomach without disdain. He finally felt relieved. And just as he was doing all this last night, the movement of the door behind him made him turn around. In an instant, wild eyes made all Anbu ninjas take a few steps back. Sarutobi, teacher. ... Alas. The next morning. The 3rd day of Bajian leaving the village. Konoha, Mitarashi's living room. Another sigh came. Kurenai Yuhi, who was sitting on the sofa reading a magazine, was helpless. Hey, I said don't go too far, your brother is just on a mission. Yuhi, who couldn't stand it, protested. From the time Bajian left the village until now, this has been a sigh of relief. And the worried look on your face, do you wish that something happened to your brother? Anko, who is always lively and active and keeps stuffing balls into his mouth. That's a C-level mission. You'll meet the enemy. Anko said excitedly. Nonsense. Your family will not encounter enemies when you do tasks, right? Why are they paying you? I said, your younger brother is already a ninja, and it will be inevitable to fight people like this in the future. Do you have to worry so much every time? Kurenai Yuhi was a little helpless. Damn, he's not yet 6 years old, and no matter how old he is, he's my younger brother. For example, if your younger brother is AC rank on his first mission, wouldn't you be worried? Anko glanced proudly at Yuhi, then pouted, sorry, I forgot that you don't have a brother. I got you, I have a younger brother showing off to me all the time. Kurenai Yuhi went straight to Byakugan. Yes, since Anko's younger brother appeared, she suddenly had a sense of superiority in front of her that she never had before. Then brother. I'm not really an opponent. But this time, when your younger brother comes back, the old lady can just recognize a younger brother. After all, Yi Bajian is not Anko's younger brother. While the 2 girls were chatting, several figures suddenly opened the door of Mitarashi's house and walked in. Anbu does business. Mitarashi Anko, come with us. At this moment, Yuhi and Anko. Senseless. ... Ask for flowers. Chapter 43 is this Konoha. In the land of fire, the path leading to Konoha. The corpses that came in have disappeared. I don't know if it was eaten by a passing wild dog, or taken away by someone who deliberately concealed traces. The squad is moving forward. Was completely different from when they came was that the 2 genins had completely lost their fighting spirit. To be sure, they no longer want to be ninjas in this life. Not everyone's heart is as strong as the protagonist, and they cannot panic when encountering enemies. Not everyone can pierce their palms with kunai like Naruto and stimulate themselves with pain after realizing that they are timid. Lord Nani has been sent to the land of soup. After giving the money, I continued to live a smart life, and I didn't even say thank you when I left. The reason is that Bajian raised the level of the quest from C level to B level, and the reward that needs to be given has fully doubled. If you give more money, the other party is naturally unhappy. Eight Swords did not attribute Obito's attack to Itachi. Since he encountered a ninja during the mission, he must upgrade the mission level and give the money, otherwise he wouldn't mind killing Nani to get it himself. After resting for a while in Unokuni, Hachiken led the team back to Konoha. On his hand, there is an additional bracelet carved with agate stone. It was a small gift for Enko with Enko's name engraved on it. In addition to the agate bracelet, he also had a string of pearl necklaces hanging around his neck. Did he forget Azuki Yugao's small objects? Jien sang, "You are too messy." But even though he was not attacked again on the way back, Itachi was still a little emotional. Slightly tilted his head to look at Bajian, who was lying on his back, snoring like thunder. Itachi sighed. Really messy enough. Uchiha Madara that day, Heiken became even more insane. Along the way, he never stopped swinging the knife. Especially the sharp eyes, all passers-by were frightened when they saw it, and they were deeply afraid that the knife was aimed at them. Do you feel vigilant after encountering a strong enemy? Itachi sighed. Now, he was finally exhausted. Falling down on Itachi's back, although this back is not flat and firm, Bajian can finally sleep soundly. But the feeling of carrying a sword sang. Not bad either. The way back was much smoother than the way out. When approaching Konoha, it was already sunset. And Itachi looked at the two genin who rushed into the village in relief, and finally shook his head and said nothing. Perception of how to deal with enemies. There is also the strength of being the foundation of ninjas. It has been shown that they and themselves and Jianzhang are not people on the same road. Itachi has heard from the two whisperings that they don't want to continue to be ninjas. When encountering setbacks, what I think about is not how to overcome it, but how to escape. Such a person does not deserve to be a ninja. Carrying Jianzhang on his back, Itachi walked towards Midarashi's house step by step. Although a little tired along the way, he has not completed his mission. Send Jianzhang home. But the moment he pushed open the courtyard door, Itachi instinctively felt a little strange. Eight Swords, Itachi. Waiting for them, it is not Kensang's sister Midarashi Anko, but Kurenai Yuhi. Too late for Kurenai Yuhi to whisper, "Don't let her disturb Jianzhang's sleep." The girl in front of her continued to speak in a panic. Anko was taken away by Anbu's men in the morning and has not returned yet. Anko was taken away. What happened? Itachi was stunned and didn't know what to say. The next second, his back suddenly lightened. Looking back suddenly, he saw that Jianzhang, whom he respected, had pulled out that magical knife and walked out of the courtyard step by step. Without any hesitation, Itachi turned around and caught up with the back. The knife has been unsheathed. What is Jianzhang going to do? Go back, Itachi. Walking on the street, ignoring the shocked gazes of the teenagers around him, Bajian said to Itachi with a blank expression. Why? Itachi squeezed his fist. What I'm going to do, Uchiha better not get involved. When he stopped, the murderous aura in Bajian's eyes flashed away. I represent myself, Yi Bajian's friend. It has nothing to do with the Uchiha clan. Itachi shook his head fiercely. Jian sang, have you forgotten what you told me? You make me remember everything. I'm not alone, and so are you. Is that so? Hachiken smiled and was obviously moved, and then slashed Itachi unconscious with an understatement. Send him home. Head to look at Kurenai Yuhi who was following in the corner. Bajian slammed Zanpakuto in his hand. Ninjas are out on a mission. When I got home, I found that my sister had been taken away. Then, what are the so-called ninjas guarding? Is this Konoha? It's funny enough. In an instant, the killing intent was rampant. The surrounding melon eaters were frightened and retreated. central area of Konoha step by step with the knife in his hand. There is Anbu's space. Ask for a ticket. The 5th is delivered, plus more words. Ahem, a ticket is good. Chapter 44. That's his sister. What is he going to do? Kurenai Yuhi bit Kiba and helped Itachi, who was down by the street. In the end, 8 swords did not bring Itachi. From the beginning to the end, he was not a person who would cheat on his friends. When Itachi said those words just now, this decision will not change. Take the people of the Uchiha family to smash Anbu and make a scene. Do not make jokes. From the tense relationship between the Uchiha family and Konoha, let alone Fugaku's headache because of Itachi's intervention, even if he wants to help, there is no way. It's muddy waters. What the final outcome will be, Heibajian does not know. No matter how it ends, Anko, no one can touch it. What if the fish die and the net is broken? That's his sister. The aura opened, and the devastating Reiatsu made the people watching the opera involuntarily retreat to both sides, and no one dared to stop him. The little boy looked at the world like an evil spirit, inheriting the strength of Kenpachi's Uragi, and at the same time, the boy master devoured the animal nature of Kenpachi. Only blood can suppress the animal nature. Lord Hokage. Meanwhile, inside the Konoha Hokage building, the young Yamanaka Inoichi came to the office and got down on one knee. Minato nodded and motioned for the other person to get up and speak. And the 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen next to him are just standing by the window in a daze. As for the reason for the daze, Namikaze Minato was a little dumbfounded. Orochimaru actually ran away. In front of his mentor, he ran away after killing a lot of Anbu ninjas. Rather than running away, it would be better to say that things are coming, and the 3 generations of adults suddenly relented and let the other party go. He will always be so soft-hearted. But after letting it go, you will regret it again. What is he regretting? Minato shook his head. Mitarashi Anko has already said what he knows, according to Anbu's interrogation process. Next. Please instruct Lord Hokage whether to use special means. Yamanaka Inoichi's voice gradually became smaller. About Anbu's interrogation process. This kind of thing is invisible. Using demonic illusion to torture, it is reasonable to treat the hostile ninja village, but the plane is a bit cruel to his own people. From then on, neurasthenia and mental strength are affected. Severe cerebral palsy. It's cerebral palsy. It mainly depends on the method. If you use this method of interrogation on your own people, you still have to report it. Otherwise, he really can't do it. Whatever the process should be, ask about Orochimaru's hidden stronghold. And just when he finished speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly turned around and said. Also, list Orochimaru as a Konoha S-class missing nin, and dispatch a chasing ninja from now on. Follow the process. Minato was stunned for a moment, then opened his mouth to say something suddenly, but was interrupted by the sound of the window next to him being opened. If you're chasing ninjas, I'll go. Looking up, a bold white-haired man Junji was squatting there with a solemn expression by the office window. Jiraiya, one of the Sannin. Same as the apprentice of Sarutobi Hiruzen and the teacher of Namikaze Minato. At this moment, the 3 generations of master and apprentice are gathered together. Jiraiya, the words of chasing ninjas. Sarutobi frowned. Obviously he didn't want Jiraiya to go after Orochimaru because he knew his apprentice well. The so-called pursuit of Orochimaru was probably just a reason to leave Konoha. But at the moment Konoha, not many people can use it. Konoha if Jiraiya all leaves the village. Teacher, I understand what you're talking about, but it must be me who pursues Orochimaru. Jiraiya shook her head and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. She seemed to have something to say, but she suddenly caught Minato's exhausted face. In the end, the words he wanted to say turned into a sigh and jumped out of the window, out of everyone's sight. After Tsunadiheim of Senju's house, Konoha Sanin, all left the village at this moment. It's a little bit earlier than the original, but it doesn't make any difference. Even in the original book, neither Jiraiya nor Orochimaru appeared in this year's Kyuubi, Nine Tails, upheaval when disaster struck. Only Minato and Sandai are guarding the village. Where were the so-called heroes at that moment? No one knows. Minato's eyes were a little lonely. He was very grateful to teacher Jiraiya, but when the teacher was leaving, he couldn't even say a thoughtful word. So tired. Watching Yamanaka Inoichi turn and leave, Minato suddenly felt exhausted. This Hokage, this village. It was the first time I felt so powerless. The room fell silent again, and the two Hokages weren't talking to each other. After a few minutes, the silence was not broken until an Anbu ninja hurried over. 3 generations of adults, 4 generations of adults. Yabajian, who just returned from a mission outside the village, rushed into Anbu with a knife. With a knife, rushed into Anbu. At this moment, Minato finally remembered what he had just forgotten about. Yes. Is about to be tortured by demonic illusion and enjoys Anbu's interrogation process, but his sister. Come on. Instant, Minato rushed out of the office. He had to stop him before he got into trouble. That's the boy he values. ... Well, plus it will be delivered. But still want to write. Now, a flower, that's it. Chapter 45 Go to NM Prisoner. Anbu Powerhouse, idlers are not allowed to enter. So-called Anbu, the full name of the Assassination Tactics Special Forces, is a secret organization formed by the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama. By Hokage, dealing with some shady affairs and guarding Konoha. When Bajian kicked over 2 guards as an intruder, Anbu member who was lying on the ground adjusted the mask on his face, and then said righteously, Anbu Powerhouse, idlers are not allowed to enter. Funny village. I'm here to find someone, Mitarashi Anko, where he's being held. With a slight leap, Bajian came to the man on the ground and kicked him on the chest. The cold Zanpakuto pressed against the opponent's neck. The young man's face did not show any panic of breaking into Anbu, but became extremely calm. Since it's messed up, there is no reason to look ahead. Hands up. Fall down. A tingling sound of scalp tingling, Zanpakuto inserted the back of the opponent's hand. Anbu of this period has just been reorganized. The direct leader is the 4th generation Hokage Namikaze Minato. So the so-called guard ninja of Anbu, the strength is only in Chunin. Such strength does not pose any threat to Yi Bajian. I don't want to make things difficult for you. Anko, where is it? Stepping on the opponent's body, Bajian turned the sharp blade in his hand. The pain of the palm being cut made the ninja's body suffer greatly. As Bajian said, he didn't want to embarrass the other party. But if the kid insists he doesn't talk, he doesn't mind killing him and asking another guy. After all, within a second, Anko could suffer more than the man under his feet. Without the news he wants, his anger will become limitless. Anbu found Anko, and the reason can be understood after a little analysis of Bajian. Coupled with the discussions of the surrounding villagers when he came, he had already determined Anbu's purpose. Orochimaru. He even defected early. This was beyond his expectations. He was too lazy to think about the reason, but Anbu wanted to get Orochimaru's news from Anko's mouth, and treated Anko in that extraordinary way, which was something in the original book. Bajian leaves the village on a mission, but his sister is captured. This is a kind of anger from the heart. Cell 5. At the moment of hazy consciousness, the young Anbu ninja saw the knife raised high, and in order to survive, he finally said the location. Because in his opinion, this does not seem to belong to the secret of the village. There's no reason to die for this. When you die, everything is really gone. What he couldn't figure out was why the young man in front of him could come all the way here with such a strong murderous aura. This is Konoha. Is he going to go on a killing spree in Konoha? Cell 5. He let go of the man under his feet, sensed the soul fluctuations that were getting closer and closer in the distance, and Bajian rushed into the Anbu base with a cold snort. There are many blockers. But when the evil spirit really entered the fighting state, no one could stop him. Mention that Hitaki Kakashi is acting as a bodyguard for Uzumaki Kushina. Even if he is there, Yabajian is not afraid. Anko, it's possible you're suffering. For this alone, he would rather rush in front of her in a way of injury for injury. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s. The door of the number 5 prison cell was kicked open angrily, and the scene inside finally relaxed Bajian's tense nerves a little. Anko sat there, heavily handcuffed. Morino Ibiki, who was still very young and did not even have a scar on his face, was questioning something. Who are you? Seeing the 8 swords, Morino Ibiki instinctively panicked. He didn't despise each other just because they were small. Because his knife was tickling Yin Yuhi's blood on the ground, coupled with the demon-like aura on his body, panic was a normal emotion. Brother. Anko was stunned for a moment, looking at the young man in front of her with some strangeness, but when the strangeness flashed by, when she noticed the blood flowing, she wanted to break free from the chair like crazy and stand up. What did you do to my brother? He doesn't even know about Orochimaru. This woman, is my first impression that I am being bullied. Bajian walked up to him with a smirk, and broke the iron cuffs on her wrist. Let's go, sister, let's go home. Holding Anko up, Hachiken finally breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the state of the other party, it is obvious that he has not been tortured by demonic illusion. He came just in time. Stop. Suddenly there was a sound behind him, and Ibiki took out Kuu and stared at Hachiken and Anko. She's a prisoner. Swish. Swish. 2 sword flashes flashed. Morino Ibiki only felt a chill on his face, and then stepped back in horror. Those 2 knives, he did not see the trajectory of the cuts at all. Go to the NM prisoner. Carrying Zanpakudo, the boy and Anko stepped out, facing the faint light outside the passage. Holding his brother's warm hand, Anko also understood that the blood did not belong to the 8 swords. He came to take him home. Everything is left to my brother. ... Ask for a ticket. Plus the second chapter is delivered. Chapter 46 is a 4th generation Hokage, I trust you. How is it? At this moment, the entrance to the Anbu base. The ninjas who arrived after hearing the news have already surrounded it. There is only one way out, and you have to go through it if you want to leave. The situation inside is unknown, and waiting here is a good decision. Namikaze Minato raised the ninja who had been trampled on the ground by the 8 swords at first, and asked with a worried expression on his face. I don't know, he just asked me where Mitarashi Anko is. Anbu ninja said with some embarrassment. As Anbu, Lord Hokage's direct department, was defeated by a child. Looking at the wound on his hand, he still has some lingering fears until now. Is that really the case? Minato gave a wry smile and sighed. Orochimaru was let go on purpose, and in the end, he had to ask the ninjas in his village where he was hiding. Even want to use unconventional means. If I could describe it in 2 words, it would be outrageous. He knew the boy Yi Bajian. He also mentioned each other more than once in front of the 3 generations of adults. Even before Sarutobi Asuma choked on Anko with a puff of cigarette, he dared to stand up and kick him out of the meatball shop. So if someone took his sister, how could he possibly tolerate such behavior? Looking around, the entire entrance has been blocked. The 3rd generation stared intently at the passage, while Anbu's ninja had pulled out the kunai to prepare for the fight. Does this matter need to be so big? Compared to Orochimaru, Heiken, who wanted to save her sister and didn't want her to suffer, turned into a sinner. Is this really appropriate? 3 generations of adults. Standing up and returning to Sarutobi, Minato's face was tangled and gloomy. Wait for him to come out. Sarutobi shook his head and didn't want to say more. The departure of Orochimaru and Jiraiya made him a little upset. The anxious wait began. Anbu's ninjas didn't dare to let out a sigh of relief, and the two Hokages also fell silent. I don't know how long it took. The two figures leaned against each other and walked out of the passage. At this moment, everyone's eyes swept towards them. Tick. On Zanpakuto, a drop of blood slowly flowed to the ground, and Namikaze Minato sighed coldly when he swept the blood. Sure enough, is it too late? When did Enko see this kind of battle? She was startled and instinctively wanted to hide behind Bajian, but she just bit Kiba to protect her brother. Lord Hokage. Don't be afraid. Shaking his head, strong arms wrapped her around her again, and the boy thrust Zanpakuto into the ground with a mockery on his face. He wanted to see what the Konoha bastards would do with themselves. Yi Bajian, privately release prisoners, and slaughter their companions. What are you to blame? However, the person who spoke made Bajian a little stunned. Aside the crowd, Mr. Danzo, who was in sympathy with Orochimaru, was long overdue. And on his face, with unpretentious anger, it seems that he is extremely angry with Bajian's behavior. You're saying it again, who's the culprit? The terrifying murderous aura spread instantly. All the wildness of Zaragi Kenpachi came to this little boy. Everyone present was shocked. Why does this little boy possess such a terrifying murderous aura? They had no doubt that if Shimura Danzo treated Mitarashi Enko with the title of a prisoner, the teenager would shoot directly. Ignore the consequences and do whatever it takes. Grab Konoha's forehead with one hand. The blue veins on the small palm were exposed. Minato's shoulders twitched. He seemed to understand what the other party was going to do. Knight, let me say something. He believed that if he did not speak, Yi Bajian would pinch the forehead to smash in anger, and then the fish would die and the net would be broken. But the people present were all Konoha elites, and there was only one result. That is Yi Bajian, the boy he admires so much, the boy who didn't need to suffer this innocent disaster will surely die. At least that's his understanding. People from Anbu, the purpose of taking Enko is just to cooperate with the investigation. Like you, Enko is a part of Konoha and she has that obligation. After all, she was Orochimaru's disciple before, and now Orochimaru has defected after killing the Anbu ninja. You should understand that it's okay to cooperate with the investigation. There was sunshine on Minato's face, trying to use words to calm Hachiken. Sister, do you know about Orochimaru? Looking around, everyone who should be there is there, and Bajian turns his head to look at Enko. I don't know, I've said everything I can, and I can guarantee it's the truth. Enko stretched out his hand and said solemnly. You guarantee. What guarantee do you use? Two Hokages didn't speak, but Danzo started to attack. He came, of course with his purpose. As early as when Orochimaru asked for this boy's information, he became curious about Yabajian. Now that Orochimaru is gone, the only thing he wants to do is to arrest the boy and study the unusualness of him. Finally, for him, nothing said by someone who has not been tortured by demonic illusion can be considered a true confession. You fart. Confession. Prisoner. Eight Swords was already furious to the extreme. Who made Enko's disciple of Orochimaru? Do you think she is rare? Orochimaru ran away. Why don't you go after Orochimaru and torture her instead? Who taught Orochimaru to TM? Why didn't you recruit him for a confession? Why don't you torture those ninjas who failed to capture Orochimaru? Maybe they let Orochimaru go on purpose. In a word, the whole place fell silent. Who taught Orochimaru? Slowly, everyone's eyes were focused on an old man present. 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. He thought he could avoid this embarrassing status by not speaking. Unfortunately, he was wrong. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Sarutobi sighed and didn't know what to say. Yes. Of closeness, he and Orochimaru are probably closer. And this kid speaks too hard. Simply heartfelt. Let Orochimaru go on purpose. Lord Hokage, Anbu inside is just injured, not dead. At this moment, an Anbu ninja approached Minato and reported the situation in a low voice. Just hurt. There is a turnaround. His eyes lit up, and Minato suddenly took a step forward. I believe in Anko, and I believe in Yabajian. Everyone, go back first. I swear in the name of the 4th generation Hokage, I will give you an account of this matter. Coming to Heiken, Minato stretched out his hand and placed it on Heiken's head. Give him a sunny smile. I believe in you, so put away your hostility and leave the rest to me. ... Well, the 8th is delivered. Added 3 chapters today. Fingers are already sore, as usual to ask for tickets. Chapter 48 Shadow's Name. How to say. Is it the little son? Hachiken lightly patted Minato's hand on his head aside. To be honest, when he came out, he had already prepared for the worst. Take Enko into a riot and leave the village. Although it was a little earlier than planned, I had already shared with Orochimaru that he would be looking for him in the future. It's not difficult to leave Konoha with his full power. It wasn't that he looked down on Konoha, it was that the power of death was not understood in this world. Even before leaving, he left a very deep impression on the village. But thinking about it carefully, with his current age and the progress of the template unlocking, there are still people outside who can threaten him. Those things in 8 Swords don't matter. Challenge yourself step by step in the face of threats, and then grow. The never-ending battle is the most fanatical thing about himself, who has inherited everything Kenpachi has. Just, what about Anko? Can she survive those days? There is also Itachi, who is close to him. If he does, Itachi is the first to be excluded by Konoha, and Uchiha behind him. Heart blood can boil, but there are some things to consider. Hold on. When his strength can withstand all challenges, anyone who blocks him will no longer be a threat. It's not that the 8 Swords are afraid. There is no fear of this word in his dictionary. Rather, at this moment, it is not that no one in the so-called Konoha senior ranks has stood up to speak for themselves. Is Namikaze Minato, Destiny Child's father? Maybe one day you will feel that because of your unintentional act of kindness, you will be able to live to watch your son grow. I agree with your graduation application, Yi. The hand was slapped off, and Minato was a little embarrassed. After becoming Hokage, this was the first time he had encountered such a difficult junior. No way, saying this sentence is also reminding Bajian. The meaning is obvious, if you can successfully graduate, then I will help you. So now, give me a face, and let him handle it here. Understood. Nodded, then pulled Anko to stand calmly aside. He wanted to see how little son handled this mess. 4th generation, do you want to let a person who shoots a companion escape punishment with a few words of your own? I believe in you, you can win the respect of Bajian, but not everyone can accept this result. Danzo, who finally waited for an opportunity and wanted to throw the 8 Swords to the root for labor reform. Sanctions are not for one's own people, but for the enemy. Turning around, Minato's face was serious. I believe Anko doesn't know about Orochimaru, and what he said just now makes sense. Since he is wasting time on his own people, it is better to send more people to hunt down Orochimaru. Own people. These are 3 words that Minato has mentioned many times. First, this matter is not that complicated, it's just a child who sees his sister being arrested and gets dizzy with anger. It's understandable. If Kushina is innocently implicated, I will do the same, not to mention that he didn't complain to him. Anbu's ninja strikes to the death, which shows he has a sense. Second, before Yi and Uchiha Itachi went on the mission, I had already decided to take them into Anbu after this mission was completed. Since the decision has been made, he is a member of Anbu. This matter is Anbu at best. It's just an internal problem that arises inside. The face of the older generation of Konoha, Minato's voice is neither humble nor arrogant. But anyone could hear that he had completely stood on Yi Bajian's side. Why? Danzo's eyes burned. Just because Anbu is the assassination unit directly under Hokage, and only obeys Hokage. And I, Konoha's fourth-generation Hokage, a veritable Hokage. At this moment, Minato suddenly became tough, uncharacteristically, different from the servile Hokage once, but told others in an unquestionable tone. He is Konoha's fourth Hokage, the real Hokage. What Hokage said was an order. It's that tone again. His fists tightly, Danzo's heart was beating violently, and his eyes shifted from Minato to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Once upon a time, he also said the same. Danzo, I am Hokage. I do this, do you have any opinion on the third generation? For some reason, when he said those words before, he suddenly felt a lot more relieved. Present, turned around, Minato looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and asked. The three generations were stunned. Minato just asked him for his opinion. Instead of asking yourself what to do as before. There are opinions that can be raised, but I will not necessarily accept them. More and more like a real Hokage. Faint sigh, Sarutobi shook his head. In the final analysis, it was because of him. If he hadn't softened his heart and let Orochimaru go, it probably wouldn't have happened. Therefore, he has no say in this matter and has been silent. Your Hokage, make it your own. But being asked this way, he felt a little uncomfortable, and shook his head. Sarutobi turned away with his old body hunched over. Orochimaru's defection hit him too hard. It's all gone, send the wounded to the medical department. Night, take a day off, come to the Hokage office tomorrow morning. Dust settled, Minato smiled warmly at Hachiken again and walked away. Hokage cloak behind the little sun, the words of the fourth generation of Hokage were imprinted into Bajian's mind. He's worthy of the Hokage name. ... Well, I feel a little uncomfortable today, and the update is a little slow. Ask for flowers and tickets as usual. Chapter 48 Jianzhang, I can't be happy here. Night falls. Konoha regained that calm atmosphere. Walking on the street, the night wind in the spring is particularly comfortable. Along the way, neither Bajian nor Enko spoke. Only the 10 fingers that were tightly intertwined were explaining something to the calm atmosphere. In fact, they don't have to pour out some words of concern to each other. It can be said, but it is not necessary. Each other's hearts already know Akatsuki. It was an inescapable emotion. At the door of Midarashi's house, looking from a distance, the thin girl is still waiting for news. Konoha needs face. Therefore, no matter how stupid a person is, it is impossible to slap their own face, publicize what happened at the entrance of Anbu, and then wantonly criticize Bajian for this kind of behavior. Maybe Danzo had such a plan, but he was warned by Minato in disguise that he would not act in a short time. Because starting today, Bajian has officially become a part of Anbu. The Anbu directly under Hokage is fundamentally different from the root. In a sense, the root is actually Danzo's private soldier. The name is to cultivate more excellent Anbu ninjas, but in fact, the talents sent to Anbu from the roots, except for Yamato, there is no one else. The existence of such an organization that does not help Konoha in the slightest is full of irrationality. Sarutobi Hiruzen can indulge the existence of such an organization, but the other Hokage may not buy it. Minato is still young, and if he is given enough time, that should change. If Danzo is smart enough, he can't lower his presence and hide in the dark to do something he likes to do. Too bad he's so stupid. As the leader of an unreasonable organization, he jumped out again and again to count his presence. Simply stupid behavior. Don't forget that Orochimaru, who defected, was nominally a member of the Roots. You guys are back. The two figures approached. Kurenai Yuhi finally breathed a sigh of relief. When Bajian rushed to the Anbu base with a knife, her anxiety never diminished. Fortunately, they are all back. It worries you. Anko was a little embarrassed. You shouldn't have eaten. Go eat balls, I'll treat you. You go, I'm a little tired. Bajian shook his head, he was indeed a little tired. When he came back from the escort mission, he kept swinging the knife, and it was Itachi who carried him back home later, and he rushed to Anbu as soon as he came back, which was a little bit more physical. Don't look at how strong he is, but her body is less than 6 years old. I really envy you for having a younger brother. You don't even know how crazy he is when he hears the news. Looking at the back of Bajian walking into the house, Kurenai Yuhi seemed to think of something, and a pink Yuhi color suddenly appeared on his face. Is my brother excellent? Yuhi and Anko, these two best friends have no secrets from each other. Sometimes with just one look, you can understand what the other person is thinking. This time, though, Kurenai Yuhi was obviously a little puzzled by Anko's question. Excellence is natural. It didn't take long for Yi Bajian to enter everyone's field of vision. But everything related to him seems unusual. Break the ninja school graduation record. And the first time the mission was C level, and came back safe and sound, I heard that the mission has been changed to B level. The most shocking thing is that he actually brought Anko out of Anbu. He really succeeded. Yuhi didn't know what happened to his best friend in Anbu, but it was not easy to hear about being taken away by Anbu for interrogation. But no matter what, she was afraid that she would never be able to forget the figure who rushed out with the knife in hand without hesitation. There is no woman who does not appreciate such a man. Nor is there any woman who does not expect this scene. If there is someone, you can work so hard for yourself. Maybe you can also let yourself feel what is moving, that kind of emotion. Any ideas? Came to the meatball store. Fortunately, the store was not closed yet. Sitting in a chair, Anko suddenly said something out of bounds. What do you mean? Yuhi's hand holding the ball shook slightly. It means literally. Anko blinked. My best friend, don't you want to kiss and kiss? How old is he? How dare you be forced to mature a little earlier? Good guy, this is where you start to sell your brother. Kurenai Yuhi went straight to Byakugan. It's not that you won't grow up, and to be precise, you're not much older than my brother. Just look at your airport and you'll know it's really slow. Anko shook his tender corn in disdain. In this regard, she had enough confidence to despise her high girlfriends, so she extended her hand while the owner of the meatball shop went out to sort out the cards. Why, where are you touching? ... Relax. And just when Anko was promoting his younger brother, in the Midarashi's house, in the room of Yabajian. Seeing the boy sitting in the chair and looking straight at him, Bajian yawned. I'm really relieved that Jianzhang is back. But not happy. Holding his shoulders, Itachi looked like an abandoned grudge in the dark. But after someone tapped his forehead fiercely, that resentment disappeared instantly. Next time, Itachi. There will be a day that will bring you down on Konoha. ... Ask for a ticket. Chapter 49 Give you the only refuge. Film. The title of the supreme leader of a village. Hokage of Konoha, a person who deserves to be respected in the village. And only those who have strong strength and have been widely recognized are worthy of this title. Sometimes, as a Hokage, I also feel helpless. And more tired. Standing inside the Hokage office. The figures of Hachiken and Itachi were not tall, but Minato felt a different kind of pressure. It is completely different from the pressure of dealing with the enemy, which is bred and grown by helplessness. Two geniuses. But it gave me a headache. Hokage office today is a little less smoky. The third generation said that he was unwell and planned to rest for a while. After Orochimaru's defection, and Minato's transition to toughen up in the name of Hokage, Sarutobi also sees a lot of things. There is a faint feeling that the village is really handed over to Minato to manage. It's an air volume that Minato admires. Not being carried away by anger. It's a ninja who is Konoha, and he is clearly out on a mission for the village, but his relatives are suspected. This feeling made me pick up the knife. Putting down the appointment letter in his hand, Bajien explained to himself lightly. The above is the final verdict given by the 4th generation Hokage about the Anbu incident yesterday. That's right, he is on the side of Bajien. But even so, he couldn't show this favoritism deliberately. He is Hokage, but Konoha, not his own Konoha. If nothing else, this ruling must be approved by the 2 major advisors before the final decision will take effect. Subject to the shadow of the consultant. Konoha has always been like this. Itachi nodded sympathetically for Hachiken's correction. Indeed, when he heard that Anko was taken away, he was also a little confused. Clearly they worked hard for the mission. But the target you want to protect is gone, and that feeling will make people collapse. You child, you are still too stubborn. Minato sighed. Stubborn, I just think I see the essence of things. Any disappointment is accumulated little by little. This is the first time. Because of your existence, I can ignore it for a while, but next time, someone will not necessarily stand by my side and say believe me. At that time, the accumulated disappointment also broke out. What will I do, whether to destroy and rebuild, or leave and choose myself, I don't know yet. He's always been like this, speaking straight. Disappointment is cumulative. There's nothing wrong with that. Konoha didn't treat him badly except this one. So, when Anbu was making trouble, he didn't embarrass the ninjas who blocked him. Whenever the anger towards this village in his heart grows a little bit, those people will die, and yesterday's ending will change. Konoha's mistake was institutional. That's a question left over from history, but Bajien still admires the young Hokage in front of him. Although he has not been a Hokage for a long time, he has learned to think from other people's perspectives. This kind of thinking is rare. Forget it. Minato shook his head, and he knew that talking to the other person would give him a headache. However, that sunny smile on his face again, Minato walked to Itachi and Hachiken step by step. Holding a head with one hand, he seemed to like this kind of action and said his thoughts from his heart. Itachi, become my disciple. Maybe my teacher is incompetent, but with this level of identity, you will have a lot less trouble. And your new identities in Anbu make perfect sense. Maybe my teacher is not qualified. Speaking of this, Minato had a wry smile on his face. Known as Yellow Flash, he always takes a step slower every time he appears in front of his disciples. If he were faster, Rin and Obito. Shaking his head, Minato's eyes were sincere. Kakashi will give you a new identity, although the short-term tasks will be a bit boring, but this is also one of the ways to hide you. After this time, I will give you new tasks. Tutor Namikaze Minato. Bajien was stunned for a moment, and at that moment, he suddenly wanted to say something you can teach me. When he met Minato's sincere eyes, Hachiken fell silent. He really wanted to help himself. Although he didn't know what to do, he had done his best to protect him. Compared with the 8 swords, Itachi was only a lot more surprised. Hokage took the Uchiha clan as his own disciple. Although the one named Uchiha Obito was from the same family in the past, Minato at that time was not Hokage after all. With this level of identity, he still accepts himself. This Hokage, does he want to use his own actions to change the relationship between the Uchiha family and the village? For a moment, it was just this thought. Itachi has recognized the existence of Minato, the Hokage. This is the real Hokage. How far will you go? What kind of changes does it bring to Konoha? Before, I ignored my disciples and was always entangled in tasks. But now I have plenty of time to watch you. Itachi, there's not much the teacher can give you, but these are the greatest protection for you. Staring at the 2 young figures walking out of Hokage's office, Minato's eyes were full of anticipation. If Jiraiya-sensei were there, would they be defined as pioneers in changing the ninja world? The legendary son of prophecy. Is that you? Beg flowers. Gone. Terrible headache. Chapter 50 Yi and Xiao, Anbu Big 3. The things that Hokage considers must not be put on just two people. His point of view is to start from the whole village. As a disciple, sent to Anbu. This kind of shelter is already Minato's best effort. Bajien understands this very well, but when he left the Hokage building, he was a little emotional. The bond of fate is finally determined. Minato never knows how much his kindness will be rewarded. He's a good Hokage. Hachiken, Itachi glanced back at Konoha's Hokage building. To be honest, this was the first time he felt very cordial here. At least there is one more person who really cares about him. Namikaze Minato. He and Jianzhang's teacher. The word teacher, at first, he only felt a bit appropriate for Shisui and Hachiken. Shisui is a mentor in life, and Jianzhang is a close friend. A good Hokage indeed. But not a good father and a good husband. Hachiken shrugged and added. Maybe everyone's approach to their lover is different, and the position in their hearts is also different. When he became Hokage, everything he did was selflessly revolving around the village. It's not that he wants to ignore the existence of his wife, but that he really has no time. The tragic pain that happened in the original book was not what he wanted to see. For Konoha's sake, only the infant child was left. I vaguely remember Minato telling Sandai when he was dying, take care of his children. Puff. Eight Swords smiled. Naruto's childhood, let's compare it with Sarutobi Konohamaru, one is the young master. One is a fox. Minato, as a father, watched his son's growth from the perspective of a bystander. Would he clench his fists angrily like a normal father? Maybe the third generation did their best. After all, he gave Naruto a place to live and eat. That is not the treatment of the son of a hero. Jien sang, what are you laughing at? Pulling on the sleeves of Bajien, Itachi had a puzzled expression on his face. Nothing, go and report. Shaking his head, Bajien strode forward. Now that he didn't refute Minato's acceptance of himself as a disciple, everything had changed. All the way. Ignoring the pointing of the people around Akatsuki who didn't know anything about Akatsuki, the two came to the entrance of Anbu. This time, no one will stop Bajien. Whether it's courage or strength, and his identity at this moment, those obstacles no longer exist. Although you have become Minato-sensei's disciples, in theory, the three of us are of the same sect. But during the mission, I will call you by code names. Afternoon, the two people who received their masks in Anbu came to the place where they met with the team members. Outside a house, on the second-floor rooftop. If the Eight Swords remember correctly, this is the fourth-generation Hokage, and the home of the teacher Namikaze Minato that he just recognized. Yes. Kakashi is still carrying out the task of protecting other people's wives at this moment. Did not meet each other in Anbu yesterday. And what Minato said, reducing the presence of Eight Swords in a short period of time, let people gradually forget what he did, so the reason why the task may be relatively boring has also been found. Protect Hokage's wife with Kakashi. What a bad thing. Leaning against the wall, Bajien tore off the mask and Sullinger Gwotu, then threw the wine gourd to Kakashi. This is his way of saying hello. But now I'm on a mission. During the mission, everything is mission-oriented. Drinking alcohol is obviously disrespectful to the mission. But people who don't know how to value their companions are not even scumbags. The profound words of the deceased friend suddenly echoed in his mind. After taking off half of the mask, Kakashi took a sip of Ergwotu. The burning sensation made him realize that he was alive. And there are two more apprentices. I don't have a deliberate code name. The original Kuroyuki has been forgotten, because the hair color and ninjutsu will always be recognized, so it's okay to call me by my name during the mission. Throwing the wine gourd back into Hachiken's hand, Kakashi covered his face again. But you guys are still well hidden, so the code name is also very important. Code name. Bajien looked up at the gloomy sky. The unknown bird that flew by reminded him of an animal. Owl. The vicious bird also refers to a cruel ancient criminal law. It seems to fit me well. How about you? Turning his head, Kakashi looked at Uchiha Itachi. Me. Itachi suddenly felt a little uncomfortable, thought about the information he had left in Anbu before, and finally squeezed a word out of his throat. Knight. Bajien was stunned for a moment, and then he gave Itachi a head-scratcher. True that Anbu's code name is mostly defined by animals, but that's not always the case. But what do you mean by choosing a knight? Yi Owl. Got it. Nodded. The purity of Urgotu made Kakashi feel a little high, leaning against the wall and shaking his head. To be honest, when he saw these two people, he wanted to refuse. After all, in his cognition, being his companion would be accompanied by bad luck, dying in front of him one by one. This was Minato-sensei's order, and he didn't have any chance to resist. As for what Minato-sensei is going to do, Kakashi also understands. To use new members, especially those who are as close as the Minato class, to join in to clear the darkness in your heart. But it's not that easy to forget something. Swish. The piercing blade vanished in a flash, and Kakashi tilted his head. Do not forget to practice even when performing tasks. This guy is somewhat similar to Guy. Companion. I guess so. ... Ask for flowers. Well. Chapter 51. The second template calls for the power of instinct. Orochimaru's defection will not cause much psychological fluctuations for ordinary people in Konoha. In particular, the reason for the other party's defection was after the human experiment was discovered. The past, the original respect for Konoha's hero, Lenkun Orochimaru, who won the second and third ninja war for Konoha, has all disappeared. Instead, it turned into disgust. This is the unwritten rule of Ninja Village. But whoever defected, it must be the problem of the ninja itself. With Konoha, storms always pass. The defection of Orochimaru and the departure of Jiraiya did not leave any special marks for this peaceful village. Spring has come completely, and the warmth is moisturizing the earth. People enjoyed a brief peace without war. And after the 3 generations returned home to self-isolation, Minato was completely busy. Those things that could only be handled by 3 generations in the past made him a little overwhelmed. He also discovered for the first time that there were so many problems in this warm village. The contradictions between the major families, the peeping of the hostile ninja village at the border, and the daily work of the ninjas. On him, a shadow's accusation has been completely shouldered. Being busy means less time to spend with your wife. However, compared to the original, Kushina's life is not so boring. Konoha, home to 4 generations of Hokage. Looking at the 2 people who were sitting in the living room, Little Pepper laughed and took out the dark dish she recently researched. The poor chicken wings in a pan were laid out there. It's hard to imagine how she could use such delicious ingredients to produce 7 colors. Just looking at it, Sharingan under the Itachi mask has been forced out, and it seems that he is facing a big enemy. I'm going to train with Jianzhang. Quickly stood up and rushed out of the balcony. Itachi's forehead involuntarily oozes cold sweat, and he quietly glanced back at Kakashi-senpai who was trembling all over. He was a little gloating. There are 2 more people in the task of protecting the 4th generation wives, which means that even if they are careful, they will be discovered by the 4th generation wives who are orphans of the Uzumaki family. Simply, Minato waived the rules when doing tasks, making an exception to allow the 3-person team to accompany his wife at close range. This is also a way of compensation for Kushina. But it hurt a few people. During pregnancy, Kushina didn't think about other things, that is, the ability of dark cooking has risen to a certain level. It is impossible to eat. Trembling all over, Itachi turned to look at Jianzhang, who was stunned on the roof, with some doubts. Are you resting? Should not be Even when performing tasks, Jianzhang still maintains the strength of his sword swing. This kind of laziness never happened. He didn't know that the 8 swords at this time were receiving the baptism from the evolution of the King of Flat Cutting template. Ding! Congratulations to the host for swinging the knife 8,000 times, and getting 0.2% of the unlocking progress of all the King of Flat / templates. Ding! Congrats to the host, the King of Flat Cut. The progress of unlocking the first template is 10%, and the second template permission has been opened. Do you want to extract it immediately? After the daily tasks were changed, the 8 swords were used for swinging the sword whenever they had time. At Konoha, he always felt bound. That kind of restraint comes from the weakness of his own strength. Perhaps he has far surpassed his peers, but the huge room for improvement has left him unsatisfied in the slightest. He has to become stronger, so strong that no one can influence him. Strong enough to do whatever you want. Anye's escort mission gave him enough time to practice frantically. Because he knew that at least the current Uzumaki Kushina is safe enough, the due date is still very early, and Obito will not appear. High-intensity training means all-round improvement. The never-ending daily tasks have allowed him to complete a small transformation. Whether it is chakra, physique, or spiritual pressure, it is increasing exaggeratedly every day. And now, after his hard work, the Zengeki Kenpachi template has reached 10%. Extract. Without explaining anything to Itachi, who was looking at him from a distance, Hachiken's low voice was a little excited. Who will be the next king of slashing? Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the second king of flat cutting template from the world of death, the power of instinct Chubai. In his mind, an invisible beam of light was invading all over the body. Laughing loudly again and again, wantonly destroying the nerves of Bajian. But in an instant, his sturdy mental power devoured it, digested it, and finally turned it into his own power. From the power of instinct. Swish! A powerful spiritual pressure rose into the sky. Immediately after that, the ordinary Zanpakuto in his hand swelled up instantly, and strange patterns spread all over the blade. At the end of the blade, a few dark chains were only wrapped around Bajian's arm. False white. The power of the void comes from the body of the protagonist of the world of death, Kurosaki Ichigo. It is also the real Zanyu. Call on the power of instinct. Feeling the destructive power all over his body, Bajian Idol's other hand suddenly covered his forehead and laughed wildly. So it is. There is also a beast living in my heart. Fight. Endless fight. With fierce eyes, Bajian's eyes inadvertently looked at Itachi next to him. For a moment, the enormous pressure made Itachi feel a little breathless. Jian sang. What happened to him? What a look this is. The only thing that is certain is that he is stronger again. ... Flowers and evaluation votes are basically not added today. There is no monthly pass. Damn, is it cold? When crying. The 5th update has been delivered, plus only 1 ticket, please. Chapter 52 Be honest, Kurama. Zaraki Kenpachi unlock progress, 10%. Master abilities, sword press, basic / void unlocking progress, 0%. Master ability, fighting instinct. The King of Flat Slashing Feature 1, Chakra Blade. The virtual white template unlocks 5%, which will unlock the second feature. Feeling the power in his body, Bajian took a deep breath. A different power than death, this power is more violent. The essence of Kurosaki Ichigo's mother was corroded by the body, and it is the second Zanyu. Waved Zanpakuto lightly and brought it to him, and Bajian's eyes were a little obsessed. This is his knife. Because of the change of Reiatsu and the emergence of the second template, it has also evolved. The weird lines are tightly wrapped around the chains of the arms. It is full of wildness similar to Heiken's own character. Unlike Kurosaki Ichigo's Zanyu in the world of Shinigami, this sword gives people a heavier feeling. Especially when grasping on the hilt of the sword, the feeling of blood connection makes Bajian swing the sword more freely. At this moment, he has reason to believe that as long as his strength continues to improve, he can even unlock his own Zanpakuto ability. Shaking his head, he put the knife on his shoulder, and the turbulent fighting spirit slowly disappeared. The power of instinct is mysterious. Only in battle can you further explore. In addition to the surprise of Bajian with the arrival of the second template, the overall improvement brought by the 10% progress of the first template also made Bajian very satisfied. 10% unlocked, that's a watershed boost. Although his move is still flat cut. The destructive power that can be exerted is no longer comparable to before. Jian sang, I'm afraid I won't be able to catch up with you in my life. Eight Swords had calmed down, and Itachi jumped to his side with a wry smile on his face. It's too stressful. Sharingan turned on, he could catch up with Bajian a little bit. But it turns out he was wrong. Judging from Jianzhang's oppressive knife, his strength has already improved by leaps and bounds. Jianzhang's strongest attack method is his sword. The change of the sword also means that Jianzhang's own strength increases, which Itachi is sure. But he never asked where Jianzhang's sword came from, nor how he learned that terrifying slash. Everyone has their own secrets, and he can have no reservations about Jianzhang, but he doesn't force Bajian to talk about him. Because Itachi understood that Bajian wanted to tell him, so he just said that, no need to ask more. Just like when he came back from outside the village that day, he wanted to follow the other party into Anbu, but he was put to sleep. He was a little angry at first, thinking he had been abandoned. But after thinking about it carefully, he realized that Jianzhang did this for his own good. He is not only a friend of Jianzhang, but also the son of the head of the Uchiha clan. Even if he helps out as a friend, he will be used by the Uchiha clan to have opinions on the village. And this is also one of the reasons why Itachi has become more and more respected and worshipped by Bajian. Don't doubt yourself, don't think too much, this power is not only my own. To be honest, I am very grateful for your hard work as my sparring partner for so long. Patting Itachi on the head, Hachiken showed a warm smile that only a friend would show. Yes. How many rainy days, the tired and exhausted teenager still accompanies him, so that the knife he swings out is not so boring. This said. Not knowing what to think, Itachi Shaliani Yuhi just wanted to change the topic quickly. My lady is ready to cook, do you want to eat? Kushina's rice. Hachiken sighed, pulling Itachi and jumping into the room from the balcony. Sitting on the sofa, Kakashi was frowning, looking at the mysterious food. The sturdy man has already leaned over, grabbed the chicken wing and took a bite. Crunchy, but no chicken flavor. There is something that can be compared to Anko's dark cooking. Eight Swords' eyes are full of light. From childhood to adulthood, in addition to the sharpness of his knife, with Anko's unremitting efforts, he has also created a stomach that is not bad for King Kong. He doesn't think he can't digest this dark chicken wing. Beside him, Kushina's eyes lit up when he saw Bajian move his mouth, as if he had discovered a new experimental subject. Just as she was about to say something to encourage the other party to eat it all, her expression suddenly burst into pain. The slightly bulging belly is pregnant with new life, but at the same time, the evil forces that exist there are beginning to restless. From the time of pregnancy to childbirth, there are dangers every day. That is the fate of the human Jinchuriki column force. The loosening of the seal gave the tailed beast trapped in the seal of 8 trigrams an opportunity. One of the reasons Minato sent guards to Kushina was to beware of this happening. Kakashi frowned upon seeing this, stood up and was ready to go to Hokage's office to rescue soldiers. A figure suddenly rushed in front of Kushina. The figure is not tall, but this moment is full of reliability. Fingers flicked to Kushina's stomach, and Hachikin's pupils slowly contracted into needle-like shapes like beasts. Be honest. QB, 9 tails. The low roar shook the whole room, and it was replaced by Kushina's painful expression, which disappeared without a trace in an instant. This young man. Her eyes widened, her motherly face full of disbelief. A word, QB, 9 tails, is shaking. Let's eat. Ignoring the strange gaze, Bajian took a bite of the charred chicken wing. As if nothing had anything to do with him. Is this the newly acquired power of Jianzhang? Itachi took a deep breath and finally released his clenched fist. Jianzhang said that it was not his own power. Well, it's my credit too. ... Plus more delivered. My head really hurts a lot today, and if I add more, there will only be one more. Thank you for your votes and flowers. Thanks to the author. Chapter 53 Familiar Teaching and Testing, Familiar Scenes. What you said is true. Night, the 4th generation Hokage Namikaze Minato came home tired after a busy day. Hachiken and Itachi have already left. For the QB 9 tails Jinchuriki column forces carried out during the day, and there is no need to squat at the window at night, but Kakashi is still conscientiously hiding outside to protect the mistress. When he got home and heard what his wife said, Minato was stunned. Why are you lying? You should be aware of something with your perception. Kushina gave Minato a dissatisfied look. With the speciality of QB 9 tails chakra, even if it was only a little loose, his man had already noticed it and rushed back quickly. But in fact this nasty guy didn't come home. Sorry, Kushina, I thought it was you who repressed QB 9 tails. Want to come back directly with Hiraishin, but there's just too much work at hand. Minato's face was full of guilt. It wasn't that he didn't care about his wife, and it wasn't that he didn't want to come back. But after QB 9 tails chakra disappeared, he was entangled with the work at hand. Of course, if QB 9 tails chakra keeps leaking, he will naturally rush home to check the situation. But Kushina just said that today QB 9 tails was quiet because of a word from his disciple. Real or fake? That's QB 9 tails. Known as the strongest tailed beast full of hatred and evil. Will you be shivering with fright because of Bajian's words? Kushina has no reason to deceive himself with such a thing, which means that Yabajian has the ability to suppress tailed beasts. His secret. Minato was a little emotional. But it's good for him. He was even a little fortunate to have Bajian as a member of Kushina's escort team. This Anbu's mission was to eliminate the high-level attention to the 8 swords, but it was arranged casually, and it could also properly hone the opponent's Shinsheng. But even this kind of task can show his extraordinariness. Don't tell the public about this. Touching the new life in his belly, Minato said softly. And what do you think of the night? Confidentiality is a must. If outsiders know that a child has the power to make QB 9 tails fear, I am afraid that those at the top will be even more afraid. At that time, I guess I can't protect him. Well, how do you say it? Kushina touched his chin. When I was cultivating, I looked like a madman, but I was surprisingly reliable. It seems that strangers are not allowed to enter, but if I get to know him, it will give people a very warm feeling. The perception of the Uzumaki family, in addition to being sensitive to chakra, can also see some essence. On Bajian, Kushina can only see these. Is that so? Nodding, Minato's eyes softened. He thought that Kushina would label Yi a rebellious teenager. It seems that he is still incompetent as a teacher. ... The warm sun shines on the earth again, the spring is about to pass, and the early summer breeze blows on the cheeks, making it extra soft. This season, even pregnant women want to get out and move around. Makes Bajian puzzled is that Kushina brought a few people to the training ground of Konoha No. 7. Looking at the stake in front of him, Kakashi turned his head away with a pain in his heart. Hidden under the mask is endless grief. Familiar scenes from the past kept flashing through my mind. The laughter of the two companions also stimulated his nerves. Why come here? Kakashi shook his head violently. Are you in love with the scene? An arm was placed on Kakashi's shoulder, the familiar wine gourd was handed to Kakashi, and he turned his head to Kakashi to see his junior brother. The other party seems to know himself very well. He knew exactly what he needed even at this time. Taking the wine gourd, he squatted under the tree and raised his head. Although Urguotu's wine was strong, it couldn't numb his nerves. Drink less, and remember to cooperate with my attack later. Wine gourd, Hachiken patted Kakashi on the shoulder. With your attack. What's the meaning? Kakashi's eyes were full of confusion. Teacher, mother, cough, what are we doing here? Even if this identity has been completely imprinted on them, Itachi has an uncomfortable feeling every time he calls his wife. Wait, you'll know in a while. Kushina is not under any pressure. She just came out for a walk, and by the way, she watched how her husband educated his apprentices. Time passed slowly, and when a golden figure fell on the field, the eyes of several people looked over. Sorry, didn't expect the morning meeting to take so long. Namikaze Minato scratched his head and was a little embarrassed. It was obvious that he asked his wife to bring 3 children over earlier, but he was late in the end. Seeing this scene, Hachiken has reason to believe that the tradition of Kakashi being late in the future is inherited from Minato. Well, the 3 of you. Front of the 8 swords and the others, Minato's eyes suddenly became serious. Kakashi doesn't need to say more, it's Hachiken and Itachi. As a teacher, I don't know enough about your strength. Without knowing it, if the new Minato class goes out on a mission, I'm afraid they'll be in a hurry. So today, as a teacher, I will do my duty to know you well enough. Jingle bell. A string of bells appeared in Minato's hand. Use your skills and take the bell. What a familiar scene. What a familiar exam school. The people around were not Obito and Rin. Kakashi let out a long sigh. The taste of the 5-flavor bottle in his heart was somewhat indescribable. Just change the person, what will the result be? Vaguely, he seemed to find that he had some expectations. Ask for flowers. Chapter 54. A hit with his knife would really kill him. Namikaze Minato, an unfortunate character in the original. There is no special Kekkei Genkei, nor are they born into the occult family. But it is such a commoner who has achieved many things that the blood-stained clan could not do. With his own efforts and his good fighting talent, he has been recognized by everyone. Step by step from the bottom to become the respected Hokage. There is no doubt that he is a strong man. Although he is standing there looking at you with a sunny smile, he will also feel an invisible pressure. He is a veritable cage-level powerhouse. Even if it wasn't the 4th Ninja World War, the real yellow flash that could be opened instantly when Sage Mode was turned on, but he was still very difficult to deal with in front of him. The art of Hiraishin, Rasengan. The over and over moves can be developed by him to the limit. Come to fight. Konoha No. 7 Training Ground, the new Minato class has been completely formed. 3 teenagers are pitted against Namikaze Minato, the 4th generation Hokage of Konoha. Hachiken stood in the middle, and Itachi opened Sharingan on the left. His right, Kakashi looked solemn, but somewhat helpless. Coming to fight. Kakashi knows how strong Namikaze Minato really is, and it's not realistic to grab the bell in such an opponent. But the person next to him actually wanted to face the battle. Unlike Kakashi, Minato had already pulled out his special kunai when he saw the spooky Zanpakuto. Teacher, are you doing something? Kakashi's mouth twitched. Others may not know the special kunai in Minato's hands. What exactly is the thing called the Sword of Ninja Love? He is like a mirror. Ah, Hiraishin. The stunt of Yellow Flash fame. You already use Hiraishin and let us grab the bell from you. Just kidding. Minato is too bullying. On the sidelines, Kushina, who was holding her stomach, was also a little speechless. Hiraishin Kanai against 2 5 or 6-year-olds. Stupid. Suddenly, an indifferent and mocking voice made Kushina stunned. This is QB Ninetales. QB Ninetales actually took the initiative to talk to himself. Kushina blinked her eyes in great astonishment. That kid's knife, if you get hit with it, really will die. The mysterious sealed space, QB Ninetales, who used to be noisy in the past, was lying on the big iron gate, with 2 paws on each other like a puppy, but the pair of beast pupils looked at everything outside through Kushina's eyes. Only the waving tail from time to time shows that its heart is not peaceful. Tailed beasts can observe the outside world through the power of human Jinchuiki column. That kid. Squinting his eyes slightly, Kurama moved his body unnaturally. No one knows what happened to it when it was reprimanded yesterday. Yibajian's raised pupils stared at it. Full of killing, wildness, and fighting spirit. That is the keen intuition of a beast. Just looking at each other for a moment, QB Ninetales felt a huge pressure. Unlike the rage that comes from being controlled by Sharingan, there is an illusion of real death. Like gaze of death. Trembling from the soul. Kurama can be sure that the other party does not have any blood on the old 6 paths, so where does the power that controls life and death come from? It didn't know, it only knew that there was that kid. It couldn't toss Kushina. The 4th generation Hokage versus that kid. It looks kind of interesting. But the Hokage thing, except for the one called Senju Hashirama, no one can fight. Let's take a look. It only sleeps all day or recalls the short videos of Uzumaki Mito, RMVB and Uzumaki Kushina.mp4, and is also interested in this battle. Swish. As Namikaze Minato shoots Hiraishin Kunai forward. Doden, Earth Style, Earth Flow Wall. Teacher, I will confiscate your kunai first. Kakashi, who knows Minato's fighting style very well, doesn't want to be at a disadvantage when Hiraishin unfolds, and slaps the ground with both hands quickly hand seal. A not-so-tall earth wall directly blocked the direction of Special Kunwu's progress. Senior brother, you are not saying that your chakra is limited. Itachi suddenly frowned and pointed his finger at the soil wall in front of him. What's wrong? Kakashi nodded. The lack of chakra is not his own problem, but the Sharingan that cannot be closed, so that he can no longer consume chakra all the time. What's the matter with the dog's head up there? Looking at Itachi's gaze, the clearly visible dog-headed statues on the Tuliu wall really confused Itachi. Heads can be broken, blood can flow, and there must be no dogs on the walls of the earth. Kakashi did not explain this. Kakashi has grown to such an extent. Namikaze Minato in front nodded in relief. Restrict the master ninja of space ninjutsu and not give the opportunity to develop the Hiraishin formation. But, with all the light in his eyes, Little Sun's figure disappeared instantly, and the next moment he moved to the side of the special kunai. The light blue light in his hand slowly gathered, and a Rasengan formed instantly. Boom! The earth flow wall shattered. The next moment, what shocked Minato was that a huge flaming fire knife had already slashed at him. What kind of fighting style is this? Is this the tacit understanding between you and Itachi? Yi. As expected of my disciple, the fusion of the chakra blade of the wind attribute and the Kaden fire style grand fireball. My name is Hayate, the flame whirling and slashing zero style. Niyubi. Bajian, who was slashing flatly with the knife, trembled all over, and almost failed to maintain the movement of swinging the knife. As expected of a little son. The name is really unique. But, how do you take this knife? ... Ask for a ticket. Chapter 55 Power Driven by Instinct. The fiery flame knife slammed into Minato, and when the ground trembled suddenly, a golden light shot up into the sky. Yellow flash. After the death of Konoha's second-generation Hokage Senju Tobarama, deserved the first speed in the ninja world, such an attack will not limit him too much. When he jumped up, Zanpakuto with a cold light slashed down from the front. At the same time, Itachi's Kaden fire style, and Kakashi's Reikiri have completely surrounded him. The three little guys are really tough. Minato gave a wry smile and had no choice but to use Hiraishin to escape again. Hiraishin technique was prepared before, a figure came instantly. The iconic broadsword, completely out of balance with the young Billy, appeared in front of him. Knight. When? Can you keep up with Hiraishin's speed? No, not keeping up. Instead, he predicted in advance that he would be transferred here. How could this be? Minato's expression was solemn, as if in order to confirm his conjecture, he held the eight swords sword with one hand. Then the other hand fluttered out the other Hiraishin kunai. When kunai crossed an arc, Minato's figure disappeared instantly. Hiraishin's second Dan. Minato during the duel between master and apprentice. It was also this trick that unexpectedly attacked Obito. Rolling out a light blue ball with one hand and pressing it to the back of Hachiken, Minato's eyes were filled with a certain element of anticipation. What is he expecting? Next second. Boom. When the huge knife successfully blocked Rasengan with the blade, a loud noise and the impact of Rasengan sent the two figures flying backwards. Below, Kakashi under the mask has a wide mouth and the unbelievable cancellation of Reikiri is written in his eyes. How is that possible? The teacher's Hiraishin, is it invalid for him? This kind of thing never happened. Even when fighting with the EPUB group of Kumogakure village, this elusive Hiraishin can suppress the opponent. Sure enough. Looking at his apprentice, Minato had a slightly complicated look on his face. Hiraishin's teleportation direction was really seen through by him. It sounds very proud to be surpassed by his apprentice, but he clearly didn't teach his apprentice anything. Can you tell me how you discovered Hiraishin's weakness? With a wry smile, Minato asked. Although a little unbelievable, it is already a fact in front of him. Whenever he teleports, the other party can accurately appear at the position he wants to teleport and make a counterattack. In the knife just now, Yi's knife came over from the side, and he didn't use the edge of the knife to face himself. If it is a head-on confrontation, I am afraid that he will be cut in half first, and then the eight swords will also be hit by Rasengan. A lose-lose play. However, he will die, Bajian will not. It's just an exercise, so Bajian has some reservations, and he himself has reservations. But Hiraishin was found to be weak, this is an obvious fact. Hiraishin has no weaknesses. Shook his head and retracted Zanpakuto. The technique of Hiraishin is a very powerful space ninjutsu in the original work. If you want to insist on weakness, the consumption of chakra may be the most fundamental problem, so Minato will not use other extra moves except Rasengan and Hiraishin to waste chakra. Like he said, there was nothing wrong with Hiraishin itself. Then how did you see where I was going to teleport? Minato asked suspiciously. The technique of Hiraishin was created by the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama, and then further perfected by him. He himself was not willing to admit that this technique would have such a big weakness. After all, he used this trick to forcibly break his name in the Third Ninja World War. Yellow Flash by Konoha. Intuition, or instinct, would be appropriate. Yuhi-colored light in Bajian's eyes flashed away, and the pupils that looked like needles slowly recovered. Pick up the knife and he will transform into a beast. This power comes from his second template, the magical power called Zubai. Call on instinct. In battle, as he completely enters the combat state, he will completely lock on the target and use the closest instinct to achieve the most effective attack. Locked by this instinctive intuition, he can make predictions before the opponent uses moves. To explain it in a more vivid way, it looks like observation hockey in the world of One Piece. More mysterious than observation hockey. After all, the second template he unlocked was just less than 1%. Intuitive. This can no longer be described as a genius, but a demon. Minato rubbed his forehead, not even knowing what to say. While speechless, he was also a little fortunate. At least so far, The only one who can sense the direction of Horaishin's teleportation is Hachiken. Otherwise, his yellow flash name might not last long. Jingle bells. A bell rang, Bajian stretched out his hand, and the bell hanging on Minato's waist had been taken away by him at some point. Does the teacher know us well enough? Then the real purpose of today's test can be said. Real purpose. Itachi and Kakashi were taken aback for a moment, then looked at Hachiken for unknown reasons. Isn't this a question to test teamwork? Bajian shook his head without explaining. Yellow flash in front of me is Konoha's fourth generation Hokage. What do you think the role of Hokage represents? How could he have so much time to accompany the three disciples to do the test? So, Minato must have its own purpose. Ah, I'm so angry, I repaired the electricity downstairs, and the power switch was hung up from time to time. I could only write on the phone, so I wrote a little slower. 5 more will not be less, please rest assured. Chapter 56 I Can Only Trust You. Although the Third Ninja War has come to an end, the border is not very peaceful. The most obvious one is Kumogakure village in the Land of Thunder. Kumogakure village is different from Konoha, because they did not gain much benefit from the Third Ninja War, and they are still creating friction with all the main battle mentality. Konoha, inside the Hokage building. Kushina has been escorted home, while Minato has left behind 3 of his disciples. Pointing to the border map of the Land of Fire, Minato sighed. The war is not so easy to pass. Konoha's attrition is rising every day. Yesterday, Hyuga Hazashi, who was guarding the border of the Land of Thunder, sent back a message saying that according to the intelligence sent back by the spies, Kumogakure village was about to reinforce the front line. Hyuga Hazashi is stressful. Although the Hyuga clan who own Byakugan put great pressure on Kumogakure village on the battlefield, the people of Konoha fight less and less. The rear supplies also put a heavy burden on Konoha. In short, I need an absolutely elite squad. The purpose is not to turn into a sharp knife and tear the front line of Kumogakure village, but to do as much damage as possible in the opponent's supply line to find out what exactly Kumogakure village is going to do. With a wry smile, Minato looked a little ashamed at his 3 disciples. In the past, this was his job. As Hokage, this juncture is really inseparable from the village. And the most embarrassing thing is, looking around the whole of Konoha, there is no one on his hands. Really no one is available. As a Hokage, when you find that no one else can help you but yourself. This feeling is terrifying. What happened to that tough Konoha, known as the first ninja village? Up to now, even an elite team cannot be formed. Originally, he wanted to give this task to Uchiha Shisui who returned to Konoha soon. Shisui is the root. When he found Danzo's dignitaries, Danzo shied away on the grounds that Shisui was performing other tasks. More, Danzo doesn't intend to tell Minato Shisui what mission he's on. That's the root. When he worked for the village, he disappeared without a trace. Konoha Sanin, who should have defected and who should not have defected, also left the village. 3 generations of adults said they were sick and idle at home. This was the most embarrassing time for Konoha, too old to follow orders. Small and too small, not fully grown yet. Dignified Hokage, not a single helper. Hachiken looked at Minato with a bitter face and shook his head. This paragraph, in the original work, was the hard resistance of the Hyuga family. But the loss is also not small. It also directly led to the village of Kumogakure completely thinking about Byakugan of the Hyuga family. After Minato's death, the negotiating team sent by Kumogakure village couldn't wait to design Hyuga with conspiracy and tricks, and forced Hyuga Hazashi to death. It was also that time that his weakness refreshed Bajian's cognition. 3 generations dare not fight. From his point of view, it is better to lose someone than to start the war again. But from the perspective of the Hyuga family, this approach is too cruel. There is no way to judge the actions of the 3 generations. Everyone considers the problem from a different angle. If it is replaced by the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobarama, he will definitely lead all Konoha ninjas to fight with all their strength. Battlefield. Thump. The heart beat violently, and Bajian's hand holding the knife even harder. He understands Minato's troubles. Konoha right now, there's really no one who can help him. Just need to destroy the supply line. Kakashi spoke first. In this regard, he has his own experience. Yes. A very painful experience. In the Third Ninja War, it was the same task, and he lost 2 companions. Kakashi, this time is different from Canopy Bridge. It's not the kind of mission that has to be successful in a desperate situation. You have to be clear about this. Minato frowned, afraid that Kakashi would link this mission to the last. I understand, Mr. Minato. Kakashi shook his head. This kind of task of the elite younger brother plugging straight into the back did make him think of a bad picture, but now and then are different, and the companions around him are also different. If you lose your mind during the mission, it will hurt your teammates. Until now, the residual warmth in Obito's eyes reminded himself not to give up every companion, nor to let his companions be hurt. That is the only way to find light in darkness. Taking the map, Kakashi's breathing was a little short. This time, there is no doubt that he is still the captain. He has Jonin experience, and a keen sense of smell for countless missions. Hachiken and Itachi didn't say anything. They followed Kakashi and turned towards the door. Night, Itachi, Kakashi. At this moment, Minato, who was behind him, suddenly stood up and shouted. When he saw the faces of the 3 children, Minato's eyes were red. Yuhi, Konoha, I can trust and entrust, except Kushina, only you. Please. Swish. The specially made kunai throws it towards Kakashi, who catches it firmly in his hand. When there is a situation that cannot be solved, send chakra inside. This time, I am the teacher. Never be late. ... Ask for a ticket. Chapter 57 Eyes in the Dark. You seem quite happy. After coming out of the Hokage building, Hachiken glanced at Itachi with excitement on his face. I seem to have heard some people say that I hate war. Jien sang, hating war is one thing. Itachi shook his head with emotion, but at the same time, we can help Mr. Minato, and we are proud to protect those who deserve to be protected. He does hate war. War means death. But right now, there is no choice but to contribute to the land beneath your feet. Jien sang also asked me, I'm not full of excitement yet. Saying that, Itachi pointed to the hand that was shaking with excitement as he grabbed the handle of the knife. I'm not like you. 8 Swords chuckled and picked up Zanpakuto, ignoring the surprised eyes of those around him, and strode forward. Just like his people, his knife will also attract countless eyes. But he is really different from Itachi. Guard Konoha. Guard the ground beneath your feet. Forget it. That's not what he's supposed to do. But excitement is inevitable. The awakening of his instinctive power made him eager to fight. Gain a deeper understanding of the power of instinct in the fight. At Konoha, his desire will never be satisfied. The front line is the paradise he likes, where he can enjoy blood. After this layer of excitement has faded, Bajian is still a little melancholy. When he came to this world through time travel, he never thought that he would have too many fetters with the people next to him. 3 or 2 confidants, accompanied by swords and wine, go where they want to go. That's all. Even if he went to the front line this time, he was only helping the 4th generation of Hokage, his titular teacher Namikaze Minato, to solve the problem. If at this moment Konoha's Hokage is Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sorry, he doesn't have the spare time to help him guard Konoha. Bajian thinks his grievance is clear, and Minato is the only one who stands up when he is under suspicion. This alone is enough to make Yi Bajian feel good about him. It's no big deal to help him once. Above, for 2 reasons, he took over this task. Together with Kakashi and Itachi, doing what the Minato class used to do. Collect tomorrow morning and have a good rest tonight. Leaving the time to gather, Kakashi jumped out of the street. Jien sang, my father said that if you have time, I will invite you to sit at home in the evening. On the contrary, Itachi grabbed the sleeve of Bajien and asked for his opinion shyly. Uchiha Fugaku's invitation. Then why are you so nervous? Would my uncle mind if I had an extra set of tableware? Touched his chin, the cherry blossoms in the Uchiha tribe haven't fallen yet. Enko said before that he wanted to see them. This question. The Uchiha family is still one meal away from your sister. Itachi turned over Byakugan, and pulled the sleeves of the 8 swords straight to Midarashi's house. Lord Danzo, Yi, Bajien went to the Uchiha clan. The dark roots, a figure fell in front of Danzo's hut, and across the door, the face of the visitor was full of bitterness. Heaven and earth conscience, Shisui did not expect the new task to be this. Monitor Yi Bajien. Spy on your friends. The struggling Shisui was full of contradictions. If it weren't for the lack of opportunity these days, otherwise he would have found the other party and told him to be careful. No way, this task is not performed by himself, and he has not found a chance to get out. What happened? What is Lord Danzo going to do to the 8 swords? What shall I do then? Friends and leaders. Did you go to the Uchiha clan? Really? Danzo's expression was calm, he couldn't see his face, and Shisui outside the door couldn't understand what the other party wanted to express. What happened to the Uchiha family? As Itachi and his friend, there shouldn't be any doubts about going to the Uchiha clan, right? Shisui would love to ask this question. But he understood that even if he asked, Lord Danzo wouldn't tell him. Keep watching. Wave, Danzo loses interest in continuing to listen. Shisui left. Danzo looked at the scroll placed in front of him, with a very domineering knife clearly visible on it. Zanpakuto of the 8 swords. Slowly closing the scroll, Danzo stood up and looked out through the only window. Namikaze Minato, I really think I am Hokage. That position belongs to this old man. According to the information left by Uzumaki Mito, as well as the major events in Konoha in history, the Kyubi Nine-Tails Jinchuriki column force is most vulnerable during childbirth. Orochimaru, it's a pity that you didn't want it at the last chance. Eyes, Danzo's figure disappeared into the darkness. Itachi has a friend like you, I am very happy, and thank you for taking care of Itachi during the last mission. The Uchiha clan, the home of the Fugaku clan. Satisfied looking at the bold young man drinking in front of him, he nodded. The last time Itachi was on a mission, Fugaku had heard him talk. Fugaku admired the figure standing in front of his son at the critical moment. Whether as a father or the head of the Uchiha clan, he felt that it was appropriate to express the etiquette and hospitality of the Uchiha clan, but he had never had the time. Today, he finally had the opportunity. Hachiken didn't say anything to be polite, and he didn't need to talk about his relationship with Itachi. At Fugaku, holding up the wine gourd and taking a sip, that's enough. It was just the corner of his eyes that finally landed on Uchiha Makoto's bulging stomach. Little bigger than Kushina's belly. After this mission, Sasuke should be born soon. My younger brother is about to be born. Will Jianzhang be his teacher? Itachi suddenly said. How do you know it's your brother? What if it's your sister? Bajien raised his eyebrows. No, it must be my brother. Itachi said in a very positive tone as if he was blown away. Cut. Traditional Brokon. 8 swords straight over Byakugan. ... The 5th is delivered. Well, if you add more, just a flower, hee. Thanks to the author. Chapter 58 it says your blood is not good to drink. Looking at Uchiha Makoto's belly, Heiken seemed to be a little emotional. Uchiha Sasuke. It seems to be a particularly annoying character in the original book. In addition to revenge, there is no other topic in his mouth. What he did also showed the mentality of an avenger vividly. There is such a sentence. Uchiha Madara lacks trust and goes the opposite way to Senju Hashirama. Uchiha Itachi lacked understanding and was notorious. Uchiha Obito lacks love, and chooses to subvert the whole world for Rin. Only Uchiha Sasuke, what is missing is the beating from society. These words, once Bajian also put a smile on his lips and said a few words. You can remove the sense of blood substitution and look at Sasuke's life with the mentality of a bystander. It's not easy for him. Sasuke as a child was cute and curious about everything around him. But Itachi's actions ruined everything for Sasuke. The love for life, the zeal for the companion, is completely shattered with the endless loop of Tsukuyomi. Compared with Naruto, he has enjoyed the love of his father and mother, as well as the care of his brother. This is his happiness and his misfortune. Sometimes enjoying the loss is more painful than never getting it. Just like falling in love, although single dogs sometimes envy couples, they cannot understand the pain of couples after breaking up. Very intuitive. Sasuke had gone mad for revenge, but he had no choice. Shaking his head, Heiken suddenly stretched out his hand towards Uchiha Makoto's bulging belly. If someone else made such a move, I am afraid that Fugaku would have already stepped forward to stop it with a full face of vigilance. But this time, he chose to trust. Trust your son's vision, trust this companion who protects his son and stands in front of him. The Uchiha family is not so difficult to communicate, but it is difficult for foreigners to come to their hearts. New life. Feeling the faint soul fluctuations coming from inside, Bajian blinked curiously. The inheritance of life is worthy of respect. And a woman full of motherhood is the greatest. It's hard to imagine how much pain Itachi endured when he raised his sword and swung towards his mother. Snapped. Withdrawing his hand, he lightly patted Itachi's face next to him. The young Itachi obviously still didn't understand what this light slap represented. Be sure to honor your parents. This said. Itachi had shame on his face. Could it be that he has been busy with tasks recently and didn't have much time to spend with his parents, which was discovered by Jian-sang. Thanks for the hospitality, uncle. Tomorrow, Itachi and I have to leave the village to perform a mission, so we will go back first. As for Itachi's safety, just leave it to me. Standing up, Hachiya bowed to Uchiha Fugaku and Makoto. This meal, he was really full, and the warmth of the family dinner also made him a little emotional. Please, knight. Fugaku nodded. As the patriarch, he was not obliged to deliver the guests himself, so the job was still left to his son. The courtyard, Anko and Izumi are still looking at the cherry blossoms. Anko is impatient and knows that his younger brother and the chief of the Uchiha clan may talk about something, so he came out early. She is very sensible. It seems that she has grown a lot after Orochimaru left and what happened to Anbu. This is appreciated. Seeing his younger brother coming, Anko waved to Bajian from afar. Under the cherry blossom tree, the sister and brother snuggled together, little cherry blossoms falling on their shoulders. This scene made Itachi look forward to it. If there is a chance in the future, I will also take my younger brother and stand under the cherry blossom tree like Jianzhang, and share with him some of the things that I once fought with Jianzhang. That picture must be beautiful. The next morning, several figures appeared outside the village of Konoha. Hachikan hates the way of saying goodbye to relatives before leaving, so Anko is still asleep. This time the task is very arduous, and I won't say much else. In terms of experience, I have a little more than you, but before taking action, I will ask your opinions to judge the way of fighting. Is there a problem? Kakashi was already a Jonin, and after learning the hard lessons of his last mission, he now began to cherish his companions. It's rare for Anbu's cold-blooded Kakashi to take the initiative to ask for opinions. Let's go. The genius is bright, but the three teenagers are hot inside at this time. With different purposes, they set foot on the border to the land of thunder. In the jungle, three figures quickly shuttled. But not long after advancing, a sneer suddenly appeared on Hachiken's face and looked at Kakashi. Do you feel it? Well, being followed, what are you going to do? Tracking and anti-tracking is something that ninjas often encounter, but there is definitely a problem with being targeted just after leaving Konoha. This shows that the tracked person is from Konoha. Just do it. Raising the knife, without any thought of saying hello, a dark knife light swept directly behind him. Like the black moon Kiba cutting through the jungle, after a few screams, a masked figure appeared behind Bajian. The black moon, Kiba, is in the sky. It's a flat cut. The goal is the knife, you can leave no one alive. The first person said in a low voice. Want a knife? Bajian smiled, and when he saw the other party's mask, he had already determined the identity of the pursuer. Made Itachi and Kakashi puzzled was that Hachiken threw his sword at the man very casually. Are you committed? This is not like Jianzhang. Itachi frowned. With a sneer, the chasing ninja reached out and grabbed the handle of the knife. Dare to take it. Bajian's face was full of disdain, and he stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers calmly. Boom. The next moment, in the horrified eyes of everyone, the ninja with the knife exploded into a blood mist without any warning. Demon knife. It is a veritable demon sword. Look, it says, your blood. It's not good. Back in his hand, he gently wiped the blood on the knife, and Bajian's pupils slowly contracted. In a flash, his figure rushed out. Come on, let's fight. ... Plus more delivered. Today because of the power outage, the update is a bit late, the author apologizes. Thank you readers for your votes and flowers. Thank you. Chapter 59 Shisui, Never Changed. Zanpakuto is built on the prototype of the soul of the god of death. The god of death gains power by knowing the name of Zanpakuto given to himself by Akatsuki and having a spiritual dialogue with him. The Zanpakuto in the hands of Bajian is different. It originally came from the novice gift package of the King of Flat Cut system. But after waving the sword for a long time, the sword itself and the 8 swords have already produced an indescribable connection. After unlocking the second template, the original power of the wild and the improvement of spiritual pressure changed the ordinary Zanpakuto. It seems that liberation is only one step away. But what Bajian can be sure of is that this knife only admits that he is the only owner. And because of his connection with Zanpakuto, even if the distance is far, he can control it and put it into the system backpack at any time, so only he can control this knife in the whole ninja world. Beyond that, anyone who attributes his power to Zanpakuto would be dead wrong. The strongest is never the knife, but the person who wields the knife. Even if you change a weapon, the strength will not be much different. After all, the liberation that belongs to Bajian himself has not yet come. Of course, this information about Zanpakuto is only known to the whole world by Bajian himself. He didn't expect that the other party had put his mind on his own weapon. PFF'd. When the last masked ninja fell, Bajian stepped on the opponent's chest and kicked off the mask of the corpse lightly. His appearance was unremarkable, and his face had the horror that was unique to him before death. This is real death. Soul was destroyed, and impure world reincarnation couldn't save him. I thought you'd leave a living, at least interrogate where these people came from. Kakashi came to Hachiken and said with some doubts. He was really puzzled. From Konoha, either the information about their departure has been leaked, or the other party cares to ambush and wait for them to appear. But either way, it's a bit unreasonable. Che, do you need to ask? Bajian shook his head and looked at the jungle in the distance. Come out, let's talk. Anyone else? Kakashi and Itachi were instantly alert and drew out their shuriken ready to fire. But when the figure inside came out, Itachi suddenly opened his mouth and stared in that direction. Although wearing a mask, whether it is the height or the iconic Chokche scroll, it all indicates the identity of the person who came. Brother Shisui, what is it about you? Uchiha Shisui. Sure enough, it was the same with or without a mask in front of them. Shisui took off the mask decadently, and in addition to the pain, there was endless confusion on his face. For the sake of the village, get back the knife in his hand. That kind of weapon can only play its biggest role in the hands of the village. Even if you sacrifice a few people, it's worth it. These are the meaningful words of Mr. Danzo before departure. For the sake of the village, get back the knife in his hand. Is it worth sacrificing even a few people? They are my friends. Let him attack his companions, something that Shisui absolutely cannot do. Even he was anxious along the way, how to remind Hachiken and Itachi to escape, and he was ready to stand up and help Hachiken and Itachi to escape at a critical moment. If he hadn't been at the route all night and was seen by Danzo that he had no chance, he would have already informed the two of them. But judging from the results, his worries were completely unnecessary. Bajien is too strong, an elite team of roots can't help him at all. The slashing sword energy is like the Black Moon Kiba, that kind of terrifying destructive power. Almost one person killed the root team. Brother Shisui, why are you here? Still a little unwilling to give up, Itachi asked what he thought was a stupid question. Shisui, who also came with a mask, was obviously with those who died. And Shisui is the ninja at the root of Konoha, which means that the attack this time was initiated by the root. Kakashi next to him also instantly understood something and fell silent. It's about the village. There are some things he can't say. I'm sorry. Finally, after holding back for a long time, Shisui spit out 3 words with guilt. What are you going to do? From beginning to end, Bajien remained calm. When these people came out, he had already guessed their identities. Danzo was the only one Konoha could do this trick. Unfortunately, he underestimated himself too much. Lord Danzo said, for the sake of the village, you need to get back the knife in your hand. Shisui faced the building bitterly and said his mission. Task. Kakashi suddenly remembered something and stared at Shisui. Before Shisui is very similar to the predicament that his father and him once faced. Task, companion. Such a familiar scene. But no matter what, I can't do anything against you, Bajien. Suddenly, Shisui's eyes became extremely firm, and he gathered up his courage to walk to Bajien's side. Trust me, I will ask Mr. Danzo to clarify this matter. I don't understand at all, why do you do something like this to your companions? You can call it for the village. Sure enough, Shisui is still the same Shisui, never changed. Bajien smiled and punched him in the chest. Don't be confused. Let's go, if it's for Konoha in your heart. Go to the land of thunder with me, and I will teach you. ... Ask for a ticket. Chapter 60 right now, it's just a fight. Shisui's arrival was an accident. However, although there was one more person in the team, it did not affect the speed of progress. Kakashi expressed his appreciation for the newly added Shisui. Without him. Between tasks and companions, he chose companions. This alone is enough to make him recognize it. It's just that Shisui, who is moving forward, seems a little worried. Well, that's not good. He came out to perform a mission, so suddenly joining another team to the front line always felt something was wrong. It stands to reason that now he should return to the route to report the situation. Even he himself didn't know what to say to Danzo after he went back. Do you know how much there is a shortage of people under Hokage right now? Glancing at Shisui calmly, Hachiken sighed. We need to carry out missions like exploring the supply lines of the Land of Thunder for sabotage. There's a lot of talent at the root and I don't see what's being done for Konoha. This is the truth. Minato would not have pinned his hopes on his own disciples if he was not forced to. So don't worry, if you go all out to the front line for the village to break the rules, then this village really doesn't need to exist. Patting Shisui's shoulder, Baji Enu said earnestly. Yes. If going to the front is breaking the rules, what's the point of what he's doing? Shisui is no longer confused. This is a man who truly implements pacifism. It's just a little bit big, and he can even say that whether it is Uchiha or Konoha, he will protect it. Itachi in the original also inherited Shisui's will and felt that he could carry everything. But ignore the importance of the companion next to him. Sad family. Sad Uchiha. Hazashi-sama. Konoha ninja camp on the border between the land of fire and the land of thunder. The fire of war has not been completely extinguished. For other ninja villages, the third ninja war has passed, but Konoha is still suffering. The scale of friction is not small, but it takes people's lives all the time. Konoha ninja with a bandaged arm walked into the command post, looked at the busy Hyuga Hazashi and shouted. Go ahead. Looking up, the tired Hyuga Hazashi had a hint of sadness in his eyes. Carrying out the belief that the Hyuga clan is the strongest clan of Konoha, he came to this battlefield. He is the patriarch of the Hyuga branch and exists to defend the main clan. Main clan won't be dispatched to the field until the division is completely wiped out. But every day, the number of deaths is rising. The reinforcements sent by Lord Hokage have arrived. Reinforcement, sometimes when faced with a difficult situation, hearing these two words is always uplifting. But when the visitor mentioned the reinforcements, the corners of his mouth twitched, seemingly helpless and overwhelmed. Here, how many people and who's leading the team? Hyuga Hazashi asked quickly. Only 4, just outside. The footsteps approached, and when the 4 appeared in front of Hyuga Hazashi, the latter's face did not show the wry smile on the face of the ninja who reported the situation earlier. 4 people. Except for the 2 children. The other 2 gave him a lot of confidence. Son of Konoha White Fang, Hatake Kakashi. Although wearing a mask, the identity of the other party can be seen from the iconic hair color. Shisui who broke into the illustrious name of the Third Ninja War. The arrival of these 2 people made Hyuga Hazashi suddenly see hope. On the contrary, the other 2 children, one carried a knife and a wine gourd on the waist, and the other had smooth hair as if they had used Rejoice shampoo. With a mask, no identity can be seen. The identity cannot be seen, but it can be ignored. Instant Shisui, Hatake Kakashi. Having them at least relieves the pressure on the frontal battlefield. Unfortunately, Hyuga Hazashi got it wrong. He did not see the hidden combat power of this elite team. Even after Hyuga Hazashi read Kakashi handed him about Minato's combat deployment, he was completely stunned. This turned out to be an elite team that went deep behind the enemy. Kumogakure village is the main battle mentality. This time they have assembled at least 4,000 ninja troops at the border. Led by the 4th generation Reikage, with Killer Bee Jinchuriki column force, the pressure is constantly on the border every day. And we, after the consumption of the Third Ninja War, only have less than 2,000 ninja troops left. Relying on the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, we can deploy the battle plan in advance and set traps, so we can drag it to the present. A deep breath, Hyuga Hazashi looked at Hatake Kakashi. What is certain is that Kumogakure village doesn't want to break through the defense line and kill the fire country in one go. They will also pay a great price, so they have been draining our energy. Take the lead, dragged until Konoha was exhausted. There is no doubt that this tactic was deadly for Konoha. Briefly said the situation, Hyuga Hazashi sighed. Konoha, there is nothing effective against this tactic. The Third Ninja War, Konoha was too exhausted. If it drags on for a long time, I am afraid it will really be dragged down. Information has been obtained, but Kakashi did not rush to a conclusion, but looked at the boy with the knife in Hyuga Hazashi's surprised eyes. Minato-sensei sees it thoroughly, so I want to make the capital that Kumogakure village dragged down disappear. It seems as expected, destroying his supply line and the pressure ahead will no longer exist. Clang! The broadsword was pulled from the ground and carried on his shoulders, walking out of the command post. Let's go. At this moment, it's all about fighting. ...